Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow Room. Let's let it fade away a little bit. It has such a beautiful sound. Small portagong, but it has a terrific spread and splash, and if you're here live, it actually has a good fundamental bass too. It's marvelous. Anyway, we're continuing our survey of Handel. Oh, so much Handel. Fabulous Handel. Handel is just amazing. And we've got, some more water music and fireworks music things. First, the two of them together with Jordi Savall and the Concert des Nations on Astre Naïve. This is a great set of the Handel water and fireworks music. It's marvelous on period instruments. It was done with real verve and excitement, and before Savall went insane and decided he was better off conducting Bruckner and Beethoven, which has just been, as you know, it's just been abominable. I mean, everything he's done later has been atrocious, using all of the period techniques he learned to do this applied to music that has no business being performed that way. So, listen to him when he was still great. And this Handel is just, it's one of my reference recordings for it. It really is. It's absolutely beautiful. Terrific. Then we've got, let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, another water music. Can we ever have too many? With the Philharmonia Baroque Orchestra under Nicholas McGuigan. This is just the water music on Harmonia Mundi, and it's lovely. I mean, it's just lovely. I mean, look, let's talk tachlis here, as we say in Yiddish. Get down to brass tacks. Handel's water music is not hard to play, unless you're a horn player doing trills, But it's not that hard to play. It's not meant to be difficult. It's meant to be easy and fun. It consists of little sniglets, just a couple minutes long, and they're all little dance pieces for the most part. The tunes are just wonderful. You have to be really bad to screw up the water music. And most people don't. Most people just have at it, and it comes out sounding great. It's almost foolproof, because you have to remember, it was written to be played in open air on a barge floating down the River Thames. I mean, think about that. The king and his retinue were on... there's no reason they were on the River Thames. Let's get it straight. They would just go barging because they had nothing else to do. They were nobility. They weren't at war. They were sitting on their asses, wasting time. So the king would get up one day and he'd say, "Oh, get out my barge. Let's get on the barge and go down the River Thames." And they would go down the River Thames, looking at all of the open sewage floating by and whatever else was in there. And in the barge next to them or behind them or somewhere around them was a bunch of people with musical instruments playing Handel's water music. So they would have some entertainment to accompany them while they were on their barge. It had to be foolproof. It had to cut through the sound of, the whatever else was on the River Thames during that day. Oyster shuckers or whoever was running around. And, the wind sonorities had to be emphasized because strings wouldn't carry anywhere, particularly period instruments back in those days, on the water. And God only knows what it sounded like. So Handel wrote a piece that hopefully you would just say, water music, and it would play itself. And so it does. Which is no less an aspect of his genius, so I'm fine with that. Then we've got, look at this, Israel and Egypt, the Taverner Consort and Players under Andrew Parrott. Now, the reason I got this is not because I particularly care for the Taverner Consort and Players under Andrew Parrott. They did some good things. They've done some good things. I give them credit. And this isn't terrible. But it does include the original, well, not the original, the subsequent Part 1, The Ways of Zion Do Mourn, which is the funeral anthem for Queen Caroline, which Handel added to it because the work was thought to be too short and it contained nothing but choruses. And so he stuck in this ode, which he renamed The Lamentation of the Israelites for the Death of Joseph. And that's a big work. It's 48 minutes long, this funeral anthem. So it added a substantial hunk of playing time to the work in total. And we've got, let's see, wonderful singers. Nancy Argenta, let's see, Emily Van Evera, Timothy Wilson, Anthony Rolfe Johnson, David Thomas, Jeremy White, the Taverner Choir and players. So it's a decent performance in the early period instrument mode, which means very dry and somewhat clipped, but the singing's really good, so that's what matters. So that's worth hanging on to for that bit. Then we've got, Jephtha. How do you pronounce this? Jephtha. Yes, Jephtha. That's it, Handel's last oratorio. And a masterpiece, of course. The story is sort of, it's the same one we've done, but it's been done a million times. It's the same thing as Mozart's Idomeneo, which is, Jephtha promises to sacrifice his daughter if he wins, the battle against somebody. It's somebody's fighting a battle against someone, or there's a sea monster or a storm or something. And in order to be preserved, they promise God either your firstborn or your sexy daughter or the first person you see who happens to be your firstborn or your sexy daughter. And then the rest of the story is, how do you get out of your promise? And why would a benevolent creator even insist on you fulfilling that promise in the first place? Because the whole thing is stupid. Well, that's Jephtha. Handel takes it very, very seriously. It contains some of his greatest choral writing. In this case, he gets out of it by having his daughter remain a virgin and serve the Lord. She has no say in the matter, of course. But this is a wonderful performance with John Elliott Gardner and the usual crew. Nigel Robson, Lynn Dawson, and Anna Sophie von Otter, Michael Chance, Stephen Varco, and Ruth Holton. Really, really a fine work. I make fun of it, of course, because these stories are so inherently silly, but the music is not. The music is serious and appropriate, and Handel creates really moving and sympathetic characters, given their absurd situations. So good for him, really. And then, this is a knockout. Saul with Neil Davies, Andreas Scholl, Mark Padmore, Susan Gritton, Nancy Argenta, Paul Agnew, Jonathan Lamulu, whatever his name is, Lamalu, thank you. The Gabrielli Consort and players under Paul McCreesh. Very, very good, very exciting, and big. And Saul needs to be big. Saul is huge. Saul is the oratorio that has trombones, and it's got the carillon to make Saul crazy, the bells that he hears going off in his brain. It's really astonishingly rich and vibrant, and just, it's got to be played like the biggest, grandest piece of music ever written. And they do. They really do. It's first class. And you've got the whole sucker here. How long does it last? Does it tell us? I don't know. It's long. It's a big 3-hour-long extravaganza. Anyway, it's a great performance of an amazing piece of music. It really created a whole new art form, the English oratorio. And this is it's the oratorio equivalent of Handel's Julius Caesar, which also has just an incredibly lavish assortment of instruments, and it's written on the grandest possible scale. Handel just put everything he had into these works, and they are extraordinary. And last but not least, well, in the last video, I think we talked about Aci Galatea e Polyphemo, the original version of Acis and Galatea, which is absolutely wonderful and has nothing in common musically with the English version of Acis and Galatea. And it has a much better portrayal of Polyphemo with crazy bass aria that goes way down to crazy low notes, and it's got with piccolos on top, and it's very humorous, actually. And here we have Emmanuel Haim and Le Concert d'Astre with Sandrine Pial, Sarah Mingardo, and Laurent Naouri. What a wonderful cast. Doing the Italian version, the cantata version of the Acis and Galatea myth. A magnificent work that has only recently come into its own as we've been exploring Handel's Italian period. It was roundly ignored. It was actually everything before his oratorios was roundly ignored. But that was most of his career. Fabulous stuff, and the arias were reused, actually, in later works, but not in Acis and Galatea. But this is a wonderful performance on Virgin. Can't have too many Acises and Galateas, can we? I don't think so. So there you have it, my friends. Keep on listening to Handel above all, and take care.